debate with Call the Truth, boys.
You're fighting a losing battle here, Phil.
So I believe that the 7 times world champion at snooker, Stephen Hendry, gave you that name, Call the Truth, boys.
Yeah, he did many years ago in China. He just blurted it out. There's a lot of noise coming from another table. That's the second or third time now. I'm not really sure what's going on. But there must be a bit of drama. Maybe a close match somewhere.
I've just got a suspicion it might be table 10. Win Kong Fan is on the hill against Marvin Assis at 8-6. Oh, that was again an absolute shocker.
It's baffling how far he's missed the combination by, isn't it? Not even to get near the jaw. He missed it by a foot.
When we do snooker on ITV back in the UK, we have a feature called Hot Shots, and throughout the course of the week we compile a highlight reel of all of the finest shots in the tournament. In this match already, Roland Garcia has been guilty of 3 not shots. And bear in mind, this is a gentleman who only 7 years ago was 1 match away from being world champion. There are no complaints from Duong Quoc.
No, he's waiting, isn't he? He's waiting to just mop up. He doesn't care what happens. He wants his opponent to miss everything the way he's been missing. Nicely struck. Could have done with another roll or two to make it a guarantee.
It was another clean-up job after a real mess from Garcia. So, thus far, he's been miles away from a kick. He butchered a 6 and then he completely misjudged his attempted combo. 2-0 to Duong Quoc. Of course, back in May, first week in May, Duong won the Jacoby Scottish Open at McGoldrick's in Rutherglen, Scotland. And boy, did he play well to do so. He lost his first match there, but then won 5 games on the 1-loss side, another 4 in single elimination. And when you list the players he beat there, Elliot Sanderson, Mustafa Alner, Carlo Biardo, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, Tyler Steyer, Eklund Kachi, Kopin Yi in the semi-finals, and then Oscar Dominguez in the final. What an achievement. And all of that was watched by a legion of pool fans here in Vietnam on the streaming. Record numbers.
Good break. Not really a great outcome though. Balls are covering the pockets for the 3-ball to be potted. little bit like the opening first rack. The safety just doesn't look obvious. So has he hit a rail? Has he hit a rail? He's not. That's going to be a foul. No rail after contact.
And that is just concentration. Mental error.
Yeah, there was just no obvious safety. You know, like sending the 3 ball somewhere, running the cue ball round for cover. That was the worst outcome possible. Now, can Garcia pot a ball? Yes, he can. Yeah, if he can get the cue ball there, he can cut the 6 in. Not easy to get the cue ball there though. Or his other option is play for the bank shot on the green 6. Either option needs a little bit of work. What's the pace like? Seems to be spot on.
Well, let's hope from Garcia's perspective that this 6 is a little better struck than the 6 he completely mishit in rack 1. Well, it wasn't. Oh, so fortunate not to scratch. But the bank was nowhere near.
Yeah, as you said, Phil, if the scratch happened, ball in hand, it would be rack over. Now, a little tester. Queuing down on the ball tells me he's going to thump this in. Oh, that was a beauty from Duong Quoc Hoang. That really was. Can't hit it any better. I urge you to attempt that in your local pool, or put the cue ball near the rail and try and strike down. It's difficult.
Especially because these pool balls are large, and consequently when you're near the rail, that adds to the difficulty. Duong Quoc Hoang trying to show there's no place like home. He leads a totally out of sorts Roland Garcia 3-0. So these winners' qualification scorelines: Phil August 6-2 over Antonius Kakaris, Robbie Capito and Coping Hand tightening up. It's 7-5 now for Capito. Oscar Dominguez has just taken a 7-4 lead over Georgi Georgiev. Win Kong Tan still on the hill against Marvin Assis at 8-6. Bernie Regalario just edging in front against Lin Shikai at 5-4. Jason Shaw lost the first rack against Win Van High, but he's back on level terms. Same with Elliot Sanderson and Lee Van Cortez at 1-1. Same for Sullivan Clark and Edward Koyonjian of Indonesia. Michael Bohannon 2-1 upon David Al-Kadi. And James Arenas and Jeffrey Rodder 1-1.
Seems to be a familiar storyline here off the break. Not getting much luck, is he? To see the lowest ball. This is a better safety shot though, more obvious one. That's what I meant before. See how he played a good 2-ball? Disastrous start for Roland Garcia.
By the way, one postscript to the match we saw end on table 2. The defeat of Lo Ho Sum sends him into losers qualification to take on Eklund Kachi. Maybe that's why he was dispirited. He'd seen the bracket.
So that's LQ, right? The winner of that advances through, Phil, yes?
Indeed, and that's a race to 9. The only round on the loser's side that is a race to 9. As Garcia again fails to make any contact.
Yeah, Eklund Kachi lost his opening match here on centre court. He played dreadful as well. Clearly the little break that he's had has not done him too good. After the World Championship final that he lost out in a one-rack shootout to Fedor Gorst, he decided to take a few weeks off. So the fact he's gone through the loser's side sometimes can do you pretty good, Phil, but only if he gets that match won over Lo Ho Sum.
Yeah, I think a few weeks turned into a few months. Some really good matches in losers qualification that might be centre stage for you. Eklund Kachi, Lo Ho Sum, obviously. Mickey Kraus takes on Nguyen Antoine, a Vietnamese player who has really improved. As soon as we know our next match here on centre stage, we'll let you know. Because right now it's not just winners qualification pool that's taking place, it's also losers round 3. Duong Quoc went out onto table 1 earlier this week and then was recalled because his prospective opponent, Tran Min Duong, didn't turn up, so he had a walkover. In his second match, he was fully tested. Came through 9-6 against Win Kong Huang, but not being tested here. Don't think we've had that before, a player going out to play a match on the main table and then being recalled because the other guy didn't show. In many respects, Roland Garcia hasn't shown for this one. He's been guilty of a whole series of mistakes, and because of that, it is entirely one-sided. Duong Quoc 4-0 up. Carl, you must have played on many occasions when your opponent is having a nightmare, and I suppose there's a key to holding your own concentration in that kind of situation.
Well, what's quite funny is, do you remember when Garcia got to the final of the World 9-ball, Phil?
Go on.
In the semi-final, he was 4-0 down to a certain Carl Boyes. He come back and played unbelievable and won 11-4 before playing like a wally in the final against Austin Homan. So he's got game, there's no two ways about it, and he's got himself out of the arena. Smart move, little time out.
It was Carlo Biardo, 13-5, who beat him.
Oh, well, maybe it weren't Garcia who beat me there. Who was it?
I'll check it out. One thing we do know for sure, if things carry on like this, Duong Quoc will be through without breaking sweat. Well, metaphorically without breaking sweat. He will break sweat in this arena because it's very humid today.
Yeah, Garcia showing some experience here. You know, the start of this match has just not happened. Battle of the Filipinos happening on table 2. Aranas against Roda. Very nice cueist in Phil. He's part of the Marboys team.
Your recollection is not correct.
Who beat me in the semis then? Who was it now?
Well, it wasn't that year. You weren't in the semis. Roland Garcia overcame Ekland Kachi 11-6 in the semi-finals. Carlo Biardo beat Wu Kunlin 11-6.
Who did Thorsten Homan beat in his second world final? I'm getting mistaken with that man.
Again, I will try and find out for you. So I think Garcia, with all of his experience, has done the right thing to leave the arena. Things could not get any worse. Let's face it. He's made multiple mistakes in areas you don't expect. Have you ever played a match, Cole, where, for whatever reason, nothing went right?
Yeah, probably about 90% of the matches I played. Gabica, that was it. I always get mixed up. Antonio Gabica. You remember him, Phil?
Absolutely. Yeah, Homan beat him in the final 13-6. After Antonio Gabica beat you 11-6 in the semis.
That was it, Gabica. Well, he was a Filipino. I got a little bit of it right, Phil. I don't have a big laptop like you to fact check. It's all off memory. Not very good memory, mind. Well, the timeout's come, but when he's come back, Phil, look at this. Still not looking good, is it?
No, I will make a point here. If you can't remember your own matches, how can you remember anyone else's? Can you imagine, and this is ways off, can you imagine if Duong Quoc was in the final here on Sunday? It would be extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, never really thought about that. But yeah, can you imagine the scenes? Imagine if it was Duong Quoc against Fedor Ghost. Imagine that one.
Well, funny you should say that, because Gorst, just this moment, has beaten Antonius Kokoris 9-2. So, the World Masters, the US Open and the World Champion is through to the last 64. And great news for Vietnamese pool, because Nguyen Cong Than is also through, having beaten Marvin Assis of the Philippines 9-7. error on the 6, this time from Duong.
Yeah, you're going to need a little bit of help, whether it's from your opponent or the pool gods, to get back in a match. It's not exactly where he wanted the cue ball.
You know, you hear the phrase in commentary quite often, this is so good I've run out of superlatives. Well, his performance is so bad, I've run out of criticisms.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-boggling, really. He's just struggling, isn't he? He really is struggling. This is overdone by somewhat. Now he's going to have to float it in the left middle or play the bank shot.
Money in the bank. 5-0. But again, it was all down to Garcia missing the 8. And the point is, it's not just the fact he's missing. These balls aren't rattling in the pockets. He missed it by an inch or so. Mind you, a good bank to finish. Woke up the crowd.
This is only winner's qualification round. And it's getting a little noisy out there.
On table 8, not so many fans, but a really tight contest. Robbie Capito was well in front. Now, though, only 7-6 ahead of Kopinghan. Oscar Dominguez on the hill against Georgi Georgiev, leading 8-4. Bernie Regulario, 7-5 over Lin Shikai. Jason Shaw turning on the turbochargers. 4-1 up on Win Van High. Lee Van Corteza 3-1 over Elliot Sanderson. And Copen Years won the first rack against Zhu Zihe. One of the mentioned David Al-Kadi. 3-2 up now on Michael Bohannon.
Will he be tempted at trying to put the green 6 with the cue ball, flick off the blue 2, cannon into the green, send that into the corner? At 5-0, might tempt him a little more. Not this time. He's playing the push.
Well, the way Garcia's playing, anything remotely tricky, you would think he would give back.
Well, that has never, ever been the shot, has it, Phil? It's a slow roll, that. You're asking for a lot, aren't you?
And the cue ball seemed to deviate as well a couple of times, even though in the end it's worked out.
It has worked out. It was just a crazy attempt. Rather him than me. But it did work out, so I suppose you've got to say credit where it's due. Now, come on, Roland. Let's try and pot some balls. Let's make it a bit of a match.
on the evidence of what we've seen, this might seem stupid talk, but Roland Garcia really is a tough player to beat on the vast majority of occasions. Not so today. But we've seen time and again when a player has a bad stretch, suddenly they find a spark, a catalyst, and their form improves exponentially. It might be belatedly, but Roland Garcia is off the mark. 5-1. So let's have a look at these winners' qualification scores. I can tell you, Koping Han, the youngest of the three co-brothers, is now on level terms with Robbie Capito at 7-7. Georgiev has pulled a rack back against Oscar Dominguez, but the man from California remains on the hill. Dominguez leading 8-5. On the hill also Bernie Regalario, 8-5 upon Lin Shikai. Jason Shaw, the defending champion, clearly in form, 5-1 over Wen Van Hai. Lee Van Corteza 4-1 over Elliot Sanderson. And David Arcady now 4-2 over Michael Bohannon.
It doesn't take much to forge a comeback. Mickey Krause was 5-1 down. He got it back to 5-5. If you missed the end of that match, it was a cracker between Krause and the young Filipino AJ Manis. AJ Manis got the match done with a jump shot in the last and deciding rack. So AJ Manis qualifies for the last 64. Mickey Krause moves over to LQ. That means if he wins that, he also qualifies for the final 64.
Yes, and Krause, there's a lot of pressure on that match for him because he's not quite certain to be in the Mosconi Cup team. And there's lots of pressure on this shot because where the cue ball has come to rest, it was one of those anywhere but there shots, directly queuing over the 8. Horrible queuing, in fact.
Well, we don't know what's happened to Garcia in this match, but he's clearly woke up on the wrong side of his bed.
Yeah, I think he owned up to a foul shot there. He immediately turned to the referee and said foul. So good on him for that. Must have caught the 8 ball on the way through. Oh yeah. Discernible. Don't know whether it's the same in pool, Carl, but quite often, you know, in snooker, it happens maybe a handful of times a season. A player calls a foul on himself and we see the action replay and they haven't fouled.
In all the years you've grown up playing cue sports from a young kid, usually when we start out, you have like a cue sport instinct, don't you? You know, when you touch a ball or your cue shaft touches a ball, you just instantly know, don't you, that you've done it. It's just something that your mind has trained you to know.
Yes, it's about sportsmanship, but I think it's more than that. When you do it, I think you feel obliged to own up, because if you don't, I always found it very difficult to concentrate. If you had any doubt in your mind whatsoever, and that's why sometimes you own up to fouls that don't exist, because you don't want to get into that situation where there's any lingering doubt in the mind. But of course the foul here most certainly did exist. And it's indirectly led to loss of rack. The loss of rack 6 was a mere blip, it seems, for Duong Quoc, who now forges 6-1 ahead. Lo Van Swan, who beat Eklund Kachi earlier in the week. He's 2-all with Win Dang Tuen. James Aranas and Jeffrey Rodder 3-3. These are all winners' qualification. Wang Hung Xiang of Chinese Taipei, a player I will readily admit I'm not all that well acquainted with. Clearly he's talented. He leads Jonas Suto Camino 6-2. Trong Doi Tung 2-1 up on Piers Labutis. Harry Vergara has taken the first rack from Bui Trang An. Just starting out, Shane Van Boning against Bessos Sparhiu. David Al-Kadi 4-3 up on Michael Boannon. And Jason Shaw 6-1 now over Win Van Hai. Look at this break off. That's what you want. The 1 in, the 2 over a pocket, and all the rest of the balls begging to be knocked in. I would think when this match began and in the preamble, Duong Quoc would have been expecting much sterner resistance from Garcia. By the way, as suspected, our next match will be Eklund Kachi against Loho Sum. Coming up on table 2, another intriguing affair between Win Antoine and Mickey Krause. And the way things are going here, Carl, I don't think Kachi or Low will have a very large amount of time to wait before they're back in action.
Yeah, usually scheduled for 2:30, but as we know, players will be in the practice area, so they might get the nod to come a little bit before. Funnily enough, as I said, that Low Hosen is playing literally right next to us, Phil. Getting himself tuned up for that one big match. Advance or go home.
If you've been with us all the way, you might recall that Duong Quoc missed a very simple 3-ball in the first rack. He's not been perfect since, but he's been infinitely better than Roland Garcia, and that's why he leads by 7 racks to 1. Not turning into the tight, keenly contested affair we envisaged. Some tight matches going on in the losers round 3 contests that are still out there. Fujian Bo, who was beaten by Roland Garcia in his last match, bouncing back nicely against Wen Kong Hoang. Fu leads 4-1. Raymond Farion still coming to terms with that missed 9 ball against Mickey Krause yesterday to win the match. He's 2-1 upon Giancarlo Miraflor. Brian Gahana of Indonesia and Dean Shields of the UK locked together at 6-6. That's to make it into losers qualification. Well, this time, the 1 in the pocket again, but unlike the previous rack, the 2 is not playing ball.
Oh, where do you push to at all? You feel like wherever you push, you're going to leave an easy hook.
Wise move, Carl, or has he put himself in unnecessary trouble?
Yeah, just in a difficult spot, weren't it? If he leaves any piece of the 2, Phil, he gets the hook, doesn't he? So he's had to leave a sort of kick safe. Held his hand up, but I think Duong can play a good kick shot here. I think he can just go by the 6 ball. Sort of try and play a kick and stick off 2 rails. If he can play off 1 rail, obviously he'd prefer to do that, but he can't. So 2 rail kick and stick, you've got to hit the blue 2 full. Otherwise you don't get the stick. He's absolutely nailed it. That's all you could ask for. Good shot.
He's giving Garcia plenty of stick. Well, contact made with the 2, but look at the scratch. Things going from very bad to extremely worse.
Nearly worked out great, that.
We've seen an awful lot of occasions already in the first 3 days of this Mansion Sports Hanoi Open where players have misjudged the potting angle when cue ball and object ball have been close together like this. And the main tendency has been undercutting, so in this case hitting the 3 ball into the left hand jaw.
Oh, right in the middle of the pocket, Phil. That was a nice pot. And he's on the pink 4 as well. Looks a bit straight though.
Early last year, when Shane Van Boning was defending the World 9-Ball Championship title in Kielce, Poland. His title defence came to an end at the hands of Duong Quoc. He's a very capable player. But Garcia's had one of those matches he will want to forget in a hurry. And I think Duong will want to forget that shot in a hurry.
We do see it a lot with some players, don't we? It's like they get in front, but they just can't seem to just run away and kill the match off. Always seems to be a little bit more drama left before the victory. And we love a bit of drama, Phil.
The old bank double. Jump. Bank. One ball later, the decibels increase. The Vietnamese fans loving it, and that's because Duong Quoc, the apple of their eye in terms of 9-ball pool, leads 8-1 on the hill with his opponent on just a single rack.
This is only winners' qualification. I mean, we're not even halfway through the event. As you said, Phil, before, imagine if Duong can go on a real deep run here. Last year, you know, the scenes between the final between Shore and Ocean were simply things we'd never seen before in 9-ball pool, other than the Moscone Cup, which is obviously a team event, but in individual tournaments, 12 months ago here in Hanoi, it was crazy. Imagine if Duong can go on a proper deep run. He's on the hill. He's made the one on the break. Is he going to get a look at the blue two? Well, he's going to get some form of look.
Wanted the two to stay on the table. Is there a path, though, through to the 4 into the middle pocket? I don't think so. Not from his reaction. He was desperate, you could see, for the 2 to remain above ground. Yeah, the 4 to the distant corner pocket was much more difficult, but at least he's partially obscured the 4 with the 5. What must Garcia be thinking? The only consolation for him, it's not a case of elimination, because this is winner's qualification, so he goes into the loser's side equivalent to play Steve Fleming of the USA, but he'll need to vastly improve.
That's a good shot. Can always be a little weird then. You often hit them too thin or a little bit too thick. This time, you hit it on the button.
Oscar Dominguez is through. More Mosconi Cup points for him. He's beaten Georgi Georgiev 9-5.
He'll take that.
Results coming in thick and fast now. Robbie Capito has held off the rearguard action of Ko Ping Han. Capito winning 9-7. And there it is. A